Okay, so just begin in the usual fashion. We'll do 15 minutes of gentle warm-up, and then we're going to go to a sitting meditation today. And so if you don't want to do the warm-up, you can just fast forward to 15 minutes in the video and be able to do that. But otherwise, just a very simple, gentle warm-up, which includes warming the waist and then stretching the spine. So stand with your feet at a shoulder-width posture. Your knees are very softly bent, the tailbone just sitting down. Spine is nice and straight, and we try and make this rotation around the core of the body. So right from the very center of the body, gently turn, look back over one shoulder, turn, look back over the other shoulder, and then just release the waist and let the hands gently continue this exercise. So yeah, sorry, I said the hands there, but actually the hands do seem to be what leads the exercise, but that's actually not the case at all. It's deep inside the belly we're trying to lead the exercise from. So deep inside the belly, behind the belly button, in the very core of you is lower energy field, lower dantian, as the Chinese call it. Dantian translates as altar, like the lower altar in a church, deep inside your belly. But also it has other sort of more esoteric translations like the lower cinnabar field. And I think you have to know metaphysics to understand what a cinnabar field might be. It sounds very nice. So from the very core of your body, we're making this turn. As the core of your body turns, the waist turns. As the waist turns, the spine follows. As the spine turns, the shoulders move and they gently slap around your body. You open up your palm and it taps onto the side of the body. And so it's right in the very core of us that generates this movement. And to that end, we try and put our mind into the belly too. So just think about the space behind the belly button. Dr. Pang's got a very precise way of measuring it. He says 7/10 of the way from the belly button into the body. Obviously, everybody's belly is different sizes, but 7/10 gives you an idea. 3/4 of the way into your body effectively is where the lower energy field is. So I think if you're navigating in through the belly button, you're going in until you bump into what would be the front of your spine, essentially. And the space just in front of your spine would be where this energy field sits. So we try to bring our mind to that place. We try and concentrate our energy into that place. That has a sort of a dual purpose. The first part of it is that if your mind is concentrating deep inside your belly, then your mind is not off shopping at Sainsbury's or Tesco's. Your mind is back in the body. And so the understanding is that if you're using your mind, no matter how good, put that in inverted commas, how good a purpose you're using your mind for, you're still using it, you're still eating up energy. So whether you're just reading a nice gentle story, or whether you're doing some very sort of deep research work, or whether you're sort of, working out some maths, it might seem to you all to be good things that you're doing with your brain. But the fact of the matter is that it is a use of energy. You're expending chi, valuable energy that perhaps you might need for healing. And so this is the first concept, mind inside the body, not out doing something else, not out thinking about other things, just inside the body. And then another principle flows in behind that, which I often mention, which is the Chinese idea of Yi Dao, Qi Dao. Yi is the mind, Qi is the energy, and Dao is to flow, is to move, is the path, these kind of ideas. So Dao, as in the Chinese philosophy, Taoism, and Taoism is essentially the way that we flow, the way that we go, the path that we take, let's say. So in the saying, Yi Dao, Qi Dao, it means that the mind flows somewhere, and then when the mind flows somewhere, the Qi also follows it and flows to the same place. And so by thinking about lower dantian, using our minds to think about this lower energy field, we then encourage the energy of the body to gather there. So we're tapping on the belly button, we're tapping on the small of the back, we're letting our hands tap onto the belly, and all of that is kind of stimulating this area that we're drawing our attention to as well. So everything is focused on bringing you back inside your body and keeping you in the core of your body and gathering lots of extra energy in the core of the body, which can then be used elsewhere, used for your healing process later on. But at the moment, Qigong is about building up this energy field. So we're concentrating on it, we're building it up. Okay, let's adjust this exercise slightly. Let's open it up a bit more. So we slow down, and we can use our neck as well, and just stretch and look back over the shoulders. So in your mind's eye, how does lower dantian look? Sometimes I think of something that's like one of those lovely big marbles that we used to play with as children, with a kind of like, some beautiful bright colored thing in the middle of a glass ball. Sometimes I think about embers in a fire, something glowing deep inside. Sometimes I think about pilot light on a gas boiler, a little sort of blue flame burning. And I think all of these images, for me, it's useful to have an image of some sort. Because if I can imagine it deep in my belly, and I can sort of think about caring for, curating, looking after this flame, looking after this little field of energy, then that helps me to visualize drawing my mind there and the chi flowing there. So yes, you don't need a visualization. Perhaps you think about things differently than me. We all have very different ways of viewing our bodies and so forth. But I like to have some little idea of what my dantian looks like. The other interesting thing about dantian visualization is that sometimes you feel the energy deep in your belly. Sometimes you can feel this ball of chi. And also, sometimes you feel dantian expand. Sometimes you feel like your whole belly is filled with chi. After a good workout, it's like a good meal. Sometimes you feel heat emanating from the core of you. You can even imagine light, I suppose, emanating from the core of you. So think about your lower dantian. Curate your lower dantian. Fill it with chi. Okay, a few more long opening turns for the spine. Good. And then let's just let everything slowly drift to a stop. Now, sometimes that can leave you feeling a bit wobbly. So this next exercise, lifting up chi, is about bringing you back into balance. So you draw hands up above the head. You imagine that chi fingers can comb down through your chi body, bringing you back into this state of balance. So the understanding of that is that sometimes when you feel lightheaded, the chi is kind of the energy of your body is rushed up into your head. And so what we're doing now is helping to rebalance by drawing the energy out of the head and bringing it back down into the belly again. This is why we sort of visualize the idea of chi fingers drifting through the chi body like a comb, bringing any excess energy, drawing it back down to the belly to settle and calm, relax, and center us. And then from the belly, we can always imagine the chi just flowing back down the legs as well to connect into the earth. It's like a circuit. So once we've done that, we've rotated our spine. We should now do some forward and back bends just to lengthen the spine. So lift the hands gently up in the air, stretch up. And then when you've stretched up into the blue sky, we're just going to get our ears and arms to coordinate. So ears and arms coordinate, the body stays straight, but just the nape of the neck bends with the arms. And then when the arms are parallel to the floor, you can start to bend the upper back, start to bend the middle back,
And start to bend the lower back, and then just let everything hang down wherever it naturally gets to. So please take all the tension off the back of your neck. Try not to hold your head up artificially. Tuck the tummy in slightly, let the body hang gently down. Okay, so we're going to divide the foot into 4 pieces. Gently stretch towards your toes. And then release that bend. Imagine a line at the root of your toes. Gently stretch towards that line. And release. Imagine a line drawn between your insteps. Gently stretch towards that line. Gradually getting deeper. And release. And a line between your heels, just bend as deep as you can. Let the body just hang. So we softly point the tailbone up behind us, and then we swing the tailbone toward the front of the body and start to roll the spine up. The arms and the ears follow up and come up to full height with a long stretch. We're going to do a back bend now. Let the knees drift forward and gently lean back. Stretching up and gently back. Stretching up, gently back. Stretching up and gently back. Great. Stretch the hands up into the blue sky. We'll just do some side bends now. So just allow the left hand to drift down. The right hand kind of arcs over the top of the body. Right hand drifts down. Left hand arcs over the top of the body. Down on the left hand side. And down on the right hand side. Good. Lift the hands up into the blue sky, stretch up. So we're just going to begin the whole process again. Stretch the hands into the blue sky. Remember, just tipping the nape of the neck only, so the arms and the ears kind of coordinate together as we tip over. And then the upper back, the middle back, and the lower back lowers slowly down. Okay, just hanging gently there. Our first extension takes us down toward the toes. And then we release in line with the roots of our toes. And release, heading towards our insteps. And release, and then working back towards our heels. Body hangs and relaxes. Tailbone lifts up behind. Tailbone gently pushes to the front. Spine slowly rolls up. Arms and ears can come up together. They kind of went down together. They can come up together. Stretch up into the blue sky. Let the knees and hips drift forward as you lean back. Gently up and gently back. Up and back. Up and gently back. Right, hands up in the blue sky. Let's do the side bends then. So the left hand comes down, right side of the body open. Right hand goes down, left side of the body gently open. On the left and on the right. Hands up into the blue sky and stretch. So there's just a slight variation on this forward bend exercise. We can let our knees be completely straight, locked. So tip over the head, arms, and ears, lock the knees back, and then gently drift down. And that's going to extend the hamstrings a little bit. So we gently go down, we relax down, and then we just let the hamstrings open. Tuck the tummy in slightly, let the body hang here. Keep the legs completely straight. We can just shift the weight softly forward to the toes. Just feel the hamstrings stretch a bit more. Okay, so we begin our regular bends again. So working down toward the toes.
release. In line with the roots of our toes. And release. Toward the insteps. And release. Toward the heels. Great, just let the body hang and relax there. Lift the tailbone up behind. Gently push the tailbone toward the front of the body. Start to roll the spine up. Join arms and ears together. And bring up the arms and ears as one piece. Stretch up into the blue sky. Knees and hips drift forward as you lean back. Stretching up. Gently back. Up. Back. Up. Gently back. Hands up in the blue sky. Drift down on the left-hand side. Drift down on the right-hand side. On the left. And on the right. Hands up into the blue sky. So we have one last repetition of the whole exercise set. Try and keep the legs as straight as possible. Stretching up. Arms and ears go over. Upper back, middle back, lower back. Gently sink down. Let the body relax and hang. Extend softly toward the toes. And release. In line with the roots of our toes. And release. In line with the insteps. And release. Stretching back toward the heel. Relax, release, and hang. Lift the tailbone up behind, push the tailbone to the front, roll the spine up and take up the head and the arms, the ears, stretch up into the blue sky. Nice long stretch. Our back bends next, so gently leaning backwards and up, back and up, back and up, back and up. Drifting down on the left-hand side, opening the right side of the body. Down on the right, open on the left. On the left. And on the right. Draw hands up into the blue sky. Let the hands drift down the side of the body. Gathering chi. Hands in the earth, lift up. Hands in the heavens, pour down. Draw chi through the body. Move the energy from the head, deep inside the chest, deep inside the belly. Chi rolls on down back into the earth. Let's gather again, lift up. And pour. Draw chi down, deep inside. Once more, gathering chi. I say once more, but do it as often as you need. If you suddenly feel very dizzy, feel very wobbly, obviously you can sit down, you could lie down. This exercise, if you really put your mind to it, you can bring yourself into balance. For someone who's got very low blood pressure, it shouldn't be too difficult, but don't go too hard at this exercise because it can actually really help lower your blood pressure. But if you already have low blood pressure, you have to be very careful.
So let's just gather one more time. Lift up, and then we bring the hands to the belly. So we're just going to draw the hands gently down. We let the hands settle on the belly. Really focusing on bringing ourselves back into the center, finding the center of lower dantian. This beautiful field deep inside you. An abundance of energy gathering behind the hands. All of this healing chi gathering behind the hands. Okay, so I think that we're going to do our meditation sitting today. I don't want standing stance to be any distraction at all. And so just get a comfortable seat. So when you sit comfortably, it's nice to have a straight back. The temptation to fall asleep is always there. We sort of, slump down on the couch somewhere. And we always try to have our knees just at 90 degrees, sitting comfortably, hands resting on the lap. We can put the hands back onto the belly as well. It's another sort of recognized idea. So we bring the mind back into lower dantian. Draw the mind back inside. When we sit, hopefully we can feel our feet connected down into the ground. Head connected up into the heavens. So we have this lovely flow of chi available to us, even when we're sitting. Chi moving up from the earth below, chi pouring down from the heavens above. We get this lovely balance of energy. Let your whole body relax. Allow the mind to gently expand. No inside, no outside. So as the mind gently expands, you get this idea that we can look. I'm using sort of air quotes when I say look inside our body. Feel inside our body. My teaching partner, Caroline, used to use a kind of synergy of two words, see and feel. She used to say, feel inside your body. So it's kind of seeing and feeling at the same time. How does the body feel today? Somewhere a bit painful, a bit sore. Somewhere you're a bit worried about. As you look inside your body, is there anything that particularly flags up to you today as an area you could really want to work with? Of course, we've always got our analytical mind. And very often, doctors will give us a diagnosis and we think, oh, right, well, we better work with that particular part of the body. But then when you look inside your body, sometimes the diagnosis doesn't fit and you think, well, it's not there. It doesn't feel like there's a problem there. Where is the problem? And you can search through your body. And if something else comes up, well, you should work with that instead. Be intuitive rather than using prescribed ideas. See what your body wants to tell you today, because we're going to imagine flooding that area with chi in due course. Let our mind expand through our body, but then also just dissolving the barrier of you. Just imagine that you can soften into the chi field around you. Conceptually, with your eyes closed, it's quite difficult to define exactly where your skin ends and where the chi field begins. Can you say absolutely with 100% certainty
where the outside of your skin is. Because we're chi beings in a chi field, everything is made of chi. So the left logical side of our brain says, yes, here's the barrier between me and the outside world. It's my skin and I can see it. But when we try and quieten our left logical brain thinking, then the body becomes a little bit more amorphous. Is that a good word? Gently dissolving into the chi around you. You no longer see or feel those barriers. So we're just letting ourselves soften into this idea of ourselves, into the chi field around us. So the whole of our universe is made of this wonderful, undifferentiated chi called Hunyuan Chi. I always draw the image of a Lego set and the little 1 by 1 by 1 cube that inevitably you stand on and it hurts you. A sort of indestructible little 1 by 1 by 1 cube is the smallest sort of piece of a regular Lego building set. And that's like this, shrink that by some crazy number, 10 to the minus 64 or something like that, to the most infinitesimal unit of the universe that can no longer be divided. And suddenly we have our Hunyuan Chi field, everything in the universe made of this lovely Hunyuan Chi. And I say undifferentiated because it only comes into form when we put our attention on it. And so our attention when we're born gives us a body. That's the sort of the building block. And then as we go through, we grow different things, we change in different ways. Our body has a sort of a programmed setting that grows us into humans and, changes our teeth and changes our chemistry and so forth. That's all kind of pre-programmed into this story. But it is the body acting on Hunyuan Chi to make the body do different things. But also, as we grow, our minds grow. And we start to hear things. So our mums will say to us, oh, you shouldn't do that. You're very bad. Our dads will say to us, why do you not understand that? You're so stupid. Our teachers will continue to echo those messages. And those are things that we put our attention on and we start to believe. But because we've actually put our attention on it, it starts to become hardened. It starts to become real. We start to believe it as fact. So things that people called hard, cold facts are very rarely that. They're just beliefs piled on top of beliefs, piled on top of beliefs, other people's beliefs piled on top of yours, till eventually something seems so rigid that it can never be moved. But everything is chi. Even the most hardened of beliefs are chi. And so we have this idea of ourselves built from all this fake news, from all this random information we pick up along the way. What have you told yourself about yourself? Who do you believe you are? Is it all true? Really? Deep down, is it all true? So we use our intention on this Hunyuan Chi and things develop. So what might those things be? Well, of course, our character develops and our mind develops. But also, illnesses can develop. Stories develop.
because we put our intention upon them. Because somewhere along the way, our parents or school or religion or society has kind of told us this. And we fix our mind on that as being true. And then that becomes reality in our life. And we believe that that is the only reality that's possible. So one of the most powerful, let's call it a spell, shall we, is something that's told to you by a guy in a white coat with a stethoscope. We give so much power to doctors. And the reason we do that is because our bodies are a very complex place. Sure, you know, your car's a very complex thing. You take it to a guy who knows how to deal with cars. The point about it is that, you know, if you look into the engine, you think to yourself, oh, I'll stick a screwdriver in here and I'll take this off and push it and hammer it. You know, so you're going to do more damage than good to your car, because if you're not a trained engineer, how would you know what all those things do? And so, of course, we want doctors to help us. What we don't really want is doctors to give us their crushing opinions of what's going to happen to us. What we want is a doctor to say, yeah, I can help you with that, and I'm sure we can get it fixed again. What we don't want is a doctor to say, you have 2 weeks left to live. You know, that's such a powerful spell. That's just his opinion. And so it's not your opinion, and it's also not real. So we have to take what doctors tell us with a pinch of salt. We have to sort of say, all right, well, that's your idea of what's happening. But, you know, I have other ideas of what's going on. You can say, Jeremy, who's equally qualified, says that you're wrong. And so there's an opinion that breaks his opinion. And so it puts me in mind of the Mediciner's Hospital that Dr. Pang used to run. And there used to be a reception there where people would arrive. And very often, you know, they'd sort of say to the reception, okay, I've got this problem and the doctors have told me. And so I remember one story of a guy who arrives at the reception desk and he holds up his x-rays and he says to them, the doctors have said, I've got 5 weeks left to live. And the receptionists say, okay, you've got to meet this gentleman here. And the gentleman standing beside him says, yep, I had exactly the same illness as you. And the doctor said to me, I had 5 weeks to live. And that was 5 years ago. And the guy kind of, you know, must reels back in surprise. Because there's something that breaks the doctor's opinion, splits it straight in half. It just sort of disappears. You know, the doctor's guessing he has 5 weeks left to live. And this gentleman's saying, no, you don't. I've lived for 5 years. And so how's that to trump a doctor's opinion? Okay, so we need people who have technical knowledge of our bodies, but we don't necessarily need the things they tell us, the opinions. We don't need to gather those as being true. So what do we do about this information? We have to dissolve the bad information we're given. But the information of a doctor saying you have, you know, 2 weeks left to live is one thing. How did we get there in the first place? What was the information that made us feel bad enough to, and I'm again using air quotes here, commit suicide? You know, they sort of say alcoholism is, you know, committing suicide in a very long and, you know, 30-year, or smoking is a, you know, 50-year suicide. It's a choice you make to, you know, to kill yourself, but it's a very, very long and slow one. So what is the choice we've made that is bringing us to a dangerous edge? So that's what we really need to do, is to look and refine these ideas that have brought us to a moment where we're suddenly risking, you know, our life. So the doctor might be the person who's sort of said, this is what's going to happen. But there's a step before it, is what actually did happen. So only in a very small number of cases do these illnesses relate to something direct, like a sort of a geophysical place that you live in the world, to a sort of chemical compound that you're living next to. You know, so in Scotland,
there are a lot of people who live in a place called strontium, and strontium is a very powerful nuclear force and in the rocks. And so people get affected by that. And there are genetic mutations that take place because they're living in an area. But it's very, very rare that something like that is the cause. And if you were looking at the cause as being poisoning from strontium that's made you ill in a certain town in Scotland, you'd then have to ask the question, what made you live there? Why did you live there? What were the things that brought you to that? What were the things that brought your family to that? How can I change those? So maybe not even 95% of illness is in the mind, perhaps 100% of it is in the mind, because everything brings us to a place. So perhaps you'd have to look at the story that brought you to living in strontium that gave you this kind of genetic problem. So we track back into our stories. What is the story that made me ill? Why did it happen to me? Very often, it's not an incredibly straight line. There are twists and turns in our lives. But when you start to add the sum of the twists and turns up, you see where your illness came from. So you start sort of stepping back. Well, I got ill because I had that bad time at work. I was very stressed, and I think that's what must have done it to me. Why did you find yourself at work in that job? Well, because that's what my father always wanted me to do. Okay, so was your father a person who pushed and bullied you, that really, used his moral standing to force you to do things? So then we find the root of the problem is somewhere with our father. And then why was your father behaving like that? Because his father always expected things of him. So the root goes back to your grandfather. Why was your grandfather behaving like that? Because the family had been poor during the war, during the First World War, and they always wanted better. So you can start to see these roots that lead to you being in a job that's toxic. I have a favorite refrain in my life that was my beautiful grandmother, who used to feed me with sugar all the time. And that was because that was her way of treating me. And I think that during her life, she'd never been treated. She'd had a very tough time. And so she wanted to treat children to make them feel better than she'd felt as a child. And my sugar addiction is a thing to behold, and I'm working on it every day to try and keep it in check. But it has a path. I can see I haven't just arrived on this earth and become a sugar addict. What has happened to me is that I see that my family, through my grandmother and through my mother, but also there's an interesting route that I've married someone who comes from a place where sugar actually comes from, who also loves giving sugar to people. And so I've kind of put myself in a place where I could get the maximum amount of sugar possible. And so you see the paths that run through, finding a partner who also has a sweet tooth. My grandmother, this, sort of sweet feeder, as it were. And that ends up in my life as being one of the things I have to deal with. I have to look at it and say, well, I understand why I eat so much sugar. I understand why I have to look after that aspect of myself. So we start to pick apart the stories in our lives. Why? Why did I become ill? What part of my life story brought me to that place? And then we can use a simple tool like La Chi to dissolve and forgive that part of the story. So we can also use my favorite tool, Ho'oponopono, to heal that part of the story as well. So Ho'oponopono is that simple exercise where you think about a person, you think about a place, a time. A person is probably the easiest thing to think of. So I think about my grandmother and I say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And so when you think about Ho'oponopono, you think, well, when all's said and done, it was my grandmother's problems. So why should I be saying I'm sorry? But the truth of the matter is,
there's always two sides to every coin. We're constantly acting and reacting with other people. If I'd said to my grandmother, I don't want sugar, you know, unlikely for a small child. But if I'd said to her, I don't want sugar, I don't need it. If I'd seen early on in my youth that that it was affecting me, perhaps I could have said, no, thank you, And so there's always a part in this story where you accept what's happening to you, where you give and you get given, as it were. And so in the first line of Ho'oponopono, we say, I'm sorry. And that expands out as I'm sorry for my part in this whole story, because it's 50-50. There's always give and take. So I take responsibility for my part, and I'm really sorry for being there, for being in it, for my responsible part of it. Please forgive me. Same idea. Ask for forgiveness. Please forgive me for enabling you for being part of the story. How do you see forgive me? But asking for forgiveness is a very, very powerful way to heal ourselves. Thank you. Thank you for being in my life. Thank you for allowing this story to be something that I can heal. Thank you for all your love and kindness. Thank you for everything you gave. I love you. The most powerful words in the whole universe. I love you. So we'll just settle ourselves into a gentle meditation, to a soft state. And then we'll use Ho'oponopono to forgive a few things. And then we'll use La Chi, simple opening and closing of the hands, to dissolve all problems and heal ourselves. So as you sit gently here with your mind idling in neutral. Just think about the connection down into the earth, where your feet touch, or if you're sitting on the floor, perhaps your tailbone where it touches. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be terribly precise. It's about the earth below, about the energy below, surging up into your body. If you're, you can imagine a sort of a line that comes up through your feet, through your legs, through your thighs. So from the center of your feet, through the center of your foot, through the center of your ankle, through the center of your calf, through the center of your knee, through the center of your thigh, joining between your legs at Hoi Yin, and then gently moving up to Lower Dantian. We trace the same path through the center of our arms, up to the top of our shoulders. So the center of your palm is Lao Gung, center of your wrist, center of your forearm, center of your elbow, center of your upper arm. Come all the way up onto the top of your shoulder. So on top of your shoulder, there's a sort of a dimple, a divot, a kind of a lower area, which is called the shoulder well. Halfway between the nape of your neck and the point of your shoulder, we find the shoulder well. Jianjing in Chinese. There's a kind of collecting point for qi. So you imagine this qi flowing up the arms to Jianjing, and then we imagine it going down to the center of our chest, the middle energy field. And then from the middle energy field in the center of our chest, down deep into our belly. So you have these four amazing channels, one flowing up each leg, between the legs up into the belly, one flowing up each arm to the shoulders, down into the center of the chest, and down into the belly. And the final fifth channel from Baihui on top of your head. Qi from the heavens poured down on top of Baihui, down into the center of your brain, down into the center of your throat, down into the center of your chest, down into the center of your belly. Whole body gathering qi, everything focusing deep into the core of your belly. Whole body relaxing into qi, dissolving into qi. So we can acknowledge the idea now that there are parts of the body that are slightly blocked. You don't have to know which ones. Perhaps you instantly know where a blockage lies. It might be somewhere where there's a bit of pain, and pain is a great indicator of blocked chi. So we just look at the areas that may be blocked, and we imagine flowing, healing chi through them, dissolving all our blockages. We imagine expanding from lower dantian out into the chi field around us. So don't hold on to your chi. Let go and just become at one with the chi around you. And then gather chi in through the hands, in through the feet, in through top of the head. When we go out, we can let the whole body dissolve out into the chi field. When we gather in, we can draw chi in through these channels deep inside the body. So we have this lovely idea that we can just soften and relax our body out into the chi field, and we can just draw and gather chi into the chi field. That really makes us pliable, open. And then we think about our patterning. How would it be if you let go of the ideas given to you by your grandparents, given to you by your mum and your dad? Let's just let all of that guidance go. How would it be if you got rid of all of the ideas given to you by politics, by society, by religion? Just let those ideas dissolve away. How about all the ideas we've told ourselves? What happens if you let go of your idea of self? What about if we let go of the things that our partners or children have told us, our friends have told us? What if we let go of the ideas that doctors have told us? What's left when you get rid of all of these things? Just the perfect moment. I am. If you extend that thought and you say, I am here right now, well, that kind of pins you like a butterfly pinned to a board, like something set in jelly, in aspic. But if you just feel I am, then now you're not even pinned in time or place. Let go of time. Let go of space. Just I am. Just allow yourself to dissolve. Just allow your true self to be present. Just allow the perfect, pure essence of your consciousness. Keep the mind steady and still. Just this experience of pure consciousness. Let's just sit with this pure consciousness in silence, just for a few minutes. If anything comes up, gently brush it away, dissolve it.
Feel through your whole body. Feel through your whole life. Who's the first person that comes to mind when I ask about needing to heal? So hold that person in your mind for a moment. We can think of them and then we can repeat Ho'oponopono. Visualize that person. And then send the message. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. The last time. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. So we're going to think of one aspect that we can use La Chi on. So what is the needs dissolving in that relationship? Perhaps it's just the entire relationship. You can think of that person, or you can think of an aspect of your life, and we'll gently use La Chi. So stay in this stable state of mind. Gently open your hands. Just imagine opening them. You don't have to move your hands if you don't want to. When you draw your hands together, you can imagine Chi flowing in to solve those problems, to fix those patterns. When we open the hands, everything gently dissolves. All of the problems leave. All of the associated illness leaves. Everything gone. When we close the hands back together again, healing flows deep inside our lives. Everything heals. A perfect healing. When we open the hands, we say Kai. You don't have to, though. You can just listen to me if you wish. When we attract energy in to heal, we say He.
Dissolving the problems. Drawing back amazing healing energy into that part of our life. So when we think about dissolving a problem, it's not dissolving a person. It's not breaking down the things that we had with that person or have with that person. It's dissolving the problems between that person and ourselves, dissolving the negative aspects of that relationship. This is very powerful at changing the way we interact with people who are currently in our lives. Because if what we do is take away the negative part of that interaction, then all we're left with is a healthy reaction with that person, a healthy connection to that person. So thinking on that, we gently dissolve with Kai. Brings positive chi back in. Just think upon this idea. No time, no space. So this kind of means that everything that has ever happened and everything that will happen is already present. Time is a construction of our brain. And so if time and space really doesn't exist except inside our brains, then someone who has passed on to another life, passed on however you see it, the connection can easily be healed. So even if this person isn't present in your life, you can still change and heal this relationship. And the same is true of the future. If you feel that there's something coming up on your calendar you're very worried about, often a meeting with a doctor, something like that, again, just dissolve all the negative parts of it and make the positive parts fantastic. So again, all this excellent energy drawn deep inside the body to heal these thoughts and ideas, to heal these past stories. Kai really helps us to let go at the deepest level, to unmoor the boats that hold our problems, let them float away. That brings back positive healing deep inside our life, fills every cell in your body with healing, overwrites all of the old stories. So we'll just do a few more.
2 more, a little bit more quiet. Two more, just moving the hands or the breath. Total silence. Then when you've finished, gently draw your hands back to your belly. As we sit here, see your healing is complete. Whatever root of whatever story you found, you dissolved it, you forgave it. Whatever problems you saw, you dissolved, replaced them with new ideas, fresh energy. We understood that this is a huge illusion. No time, no space. We can move and change it with great ease. We believe that everything is stuck in our lives, that nothing ever changes. But when we do these meditations, we see that anything can change. Anything can be healed. Anything can be renewed. The framework that seems so solid is easily dissolved and changed, rebuilt. So as you sit here, feel about your new life. Feel positively about it. Feel that you've brought about extraordinary changes to yourself. Way beyond anything your normal self could have imagined. You've set in motion an astonishing healing. A healing that most people wouldn't believe possible. But you can, because you're healing at a whole new level of humanity. You're healing way beyond the normal Homo sapien level. It's what I refer to as Homo spiritualis, the evolution of ourselves, as we lift ourselves to a new level and we manipulate time, space, and all of the things inside it using our consciousness. Use your consciousness to heal your life. All functions of your life returning to perfect working order. All functions of your life healed, working well. All functions of your life, the new normal. All functions, normal. So let's just close this exercise down by rubbing some circles around the tummy. So generally we go anti-clockwise 3 times. The idea is just to sort of gather energy back into the core of you, but in a funny way as well. It's about gathering you back into the core of you, about bringing you back. Because when we work in these rarefied levels of consciousness, sometimes we have to kind of distill our consciousness back into our bodies, as it were. So we kind of come back deep inside again. And then go in the opposite direction, 3 circles. And that just confirms us back in our body, back in our daily mode, back in this game. But now we're playing this game from a different perspective entirely, where everything is working well, everything is functioning well, where we have a new take on our lives.
where we're looking at ourselves from a different perspective. Put a big smile onto your face. Slowly open your eyes. Perhaps you could do a little stretch. You can stand up and stretch, or you can just stretch from where you're sitting. Just move your body. And then we should say howla together. Howla just reinforces this idea. Everything that we've done is already fixed. And as you know, sometimes healing the body takes a little bit longer. But actually what we do is we heal the story, we heal the energy. And the body, yeah, sure, it'll just take a little while to tick along. But don't be concerned by that, because every step we take moves us in the right direction. And so every day we see ourselves healed in this way. Every day we move forward. And sure, the body might move slowly. It might take you 10 years for a doctor to say, oh, you're clear of cancer. But who gives a damn about that, what they have to say about it? What we need to know is that your body is well, and it's living, and it's happy, and it's healthy, and it's constantly moving forward. It doesn't matter if something's, a bit knobbly or wobbly inside your body. Something just takes a while to shift. It's taken a long time to get there, might take a long time to clear out. But who cares? Live every day in complete health and happiness. Enjoy. So let's put our hands up and we say howla to confirm this idea. 1, 2. Howla. 1, 2. Howla. 1, 2. Howla. Ah, lovely. Thank you very much for being here today. Let's take our hands and we do our little Zheneng Qigong salute. Really nice to see you. And I'll put this recording up online, and if you can share it, that would be lovely. And spread it around the world. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.